Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for April 24th, 2026. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating, and also present are Ralph Kohler, Pallavi Singh, Simo Helston, and Thomas Howell. Thanks all for joining. Um, so we decided to start off by looking at this issue. For the sake of the recording, it is 3191278. Use plugin ID to make help section headers HTML IDs. And I'm just looking at the screenshot, and the description is to go to admin help. I've set up this site, which is just current main branch, so no patches or merge requests applied. Feel free to log in as admin. And I guess this is the page, admin/help. And let's see, judging by the screenshot, it's looking at the page source. There's an H2 with topics and an H2 with module overviews. So that's this H2 and this H2. Um, and I guess the idea is to provide links to these. So by adding an ID attribute, um, so that you can provide a link directly to a particular section on that page. Um, and I'm not sure if there are any usability questions involved here. It would not affect the visual presentation of the page. Um, it would only add the ability to link directly to this section. Does anyone see? Well, first, does anyone have any questions about what the issue is trying to do? Okay, and then does anyone see any reason why um, it would affect usability? Um, I mean, I guess, do we
Yeah,
care whether the ID is help underscore topics or help hyphen topics? Go ahead, Simo.
I was thinking is if there is any chance that there might be duplicate IDs. So is that something that somebody could make a mistake with?
Yeah, I think there are functions in Drupal core um, that aim to guarantee unique IDs. Um, and you can always add, you know, -1, -2, -3. They sometimes run into trouble if different parts of the page are cached separately, but that's way out of scope for this issue. Um, and I think, I think if it's properly implemented, it should avoid that. And Ralph has prepared Another test site. Let me just move this out of the way. And my test site has umami, so you can recognize it by the fav icon. Oh, I accidentally copied the whole comment rather than just the URL. What's going on here? I'm still searching for that. Ugh. There we go. That should do it. And if we log in here and go to the help page and minimize the navigation sidebar, um, you can see the current implementation has help hyphen topics and hook hyphen help. Go ahead, Ralph. Ralph, you're still muted.
Sorry. The only thing I wonder, would it make sense to usually, if you're in, for example, on blog posts, on headings, you usually have what's the hash key is, I guess, the name. Something like a hash key before or after the topic, on hover, for example, or always visible, and that way you basically are able to control click and copy then that link, the direct link to that section instead of manually adding it. Just from a convenience perspective. Not sure if that is intended here or how the purpose of that adding that ID is.
Yeah, that's a common enhancement. And let's see, I happen to have this GitHub repository open, and this is the sort of
Yeah.
thing you're talking about. In GitHub, it's implemented as this little link icon that shows up on hover, and you can copy the link from there. Sometimes you can just click on the link to copy, or sometimes clicking on the link reloads the page with that anchor. Um, I'm not sure. Do we use that commonly in Drupal core?
I think that would be a theme implementation, not help module implementation. So then it would be to the admin theme, I think.
I think you're right.
But if you leave it to the admin theme or the a theme per se, then each and every admin theme have to re-implement basically that feature. And if you want to have a consistent experience across different admin themes, then wouldn't it be the better choice to provide the basics for that functionality on a core level instead of on a theme level?
I think that probably requires some JavaScript and some kind of a, it's not trivial to have that. So it's good call, like, because if clicking something to copy something, it's not something that uh, kind of, it's not something you can do with HTML and CSS.
Yeah, agreed.
So getting something to your clipboard is something that requires something more, I think.
Yeah, but my point is simply in the current state with just adding that ID, if it would get noticed at all that way without some sort of front end facing functionality as well. Like, for example, like Benji illustrates right now on the GitHub page.
think the intention is that that you can create a link. And I'm going to open that link in a new tab, and it conveniently scrolls you, oh, a little too far. Again, that's out of scope. Um, it takes you directly to the. Oh, I see. I'm actually trying to scroll to module overviews, but my window is large enough that it gets to the bottom of the page and refuses to scroll further. All right, so Ralph, you think that that's, that perhaps this sort of visible uh, link should be available from the module, not from the theme.
But it could also be in a follow-up, but at the moment, I don't see that many people would notice that there is an ID and that it could be used that way necessarily. And it's also cumbersome to look up that ID, then type it, and then copy it. And therefore, I'm uncertain. And again, yeah, the other point simply is if it would be done on a theme level, then each theme has to re-implement it and reinvent the wheel, and that I consider a problem.
Now, on the other hand, having every module implemented would also require a lot of reinventing the wheel. Whereas there are not that many admin themes. You know, there are fewer admin themes out there than there are modules out there. And if the admin theme says, well, if I have an ID attribute for this, then I'm going to add this little visible link. I sort of think that does belong at the theme level. But if you're willing to consider it in a follow-up issue, then that would be the right
Yeah,
place to discuss whether it should be done at the theme or module level, and wouldn't interfere with the current issue.
yeah, don't have a strong opinion if it should done in that issue or in a follow-up. So follow-up would be fine from my perspective. So to get basically the ID in place in that issue and in the follow-up, make it actually easier accessible to people and discoverable, and to discuss the module or theme it should be implemented in.
Okay. And of course, we should have a look. Maybe there's already an open issue for that sort of functionality.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, is that kind of functionality for basically providing some clickable link or copy and pastable links for headings also available already for nodes in the context of CK editor, or
Um, I'm not sure. So what exactly do you have in mind? Should I?
yeah, basically if you simply create a node with your title, which is happens then to be the H1, and within the body field you add two or three more H2s and then publish it, and then Um, if in the front end, then some that kind of functionality is available.
Mm. It would be a special, like a not usual to add anchor links to headings. Because then it would require more specific styling to make it work.
Yeah,
Then if there would be anchors, would they be then focusable?
they should be. Yep.
Yeah, so then that's something that is not maybe usually done.
So I've done this experiment. I've added some H2s and they do not get ID attributes by default. So I guess your question is whether CK Editor provides any way to add ID attributes to a header element, right?
Not only CK editor, but CK editor in combination with the node module. Um, but because I think I'm not, that is definitely out of scope for that other issue. But if you start to adding that kind of pattern that provides some copy and pastable links for the headings, then, and I consider basically in the help section, it's rather more unusual, the odds that you are basically forwarding a link to a certain section, but it happens way, way, way more often for blog posts or articles that you basically either for quickly jumping to something, pointing someone to a certain section of an article you want to highlight, and so forth. And if something like that is provided out of the box by Core, um, then it could be reused not only on the help page, but also in the context of, yeah, for example, Node and CK Editor.
I think it's still a thing for the theme mostly. If the ID is there, then it could be done in a way, but because also, uh, or actually not in CKH or in CKH, so you would need to do something to you would need probably a filter or then manually edit the area label as well if you want to use IDs, because then, well, I'm just thinking that because I was checking the GitHub implementation there, it has area label permalink and then the heading text.
So what I'm looking at here is the configuration for the text format, and I'm just hovering over each of the available CK editor tools, and I don't see anything that specifically provides ID attributes. So I don't think Core provides that sort of functionality. The one thing you can do is view source, and then you could add an ID attribute manually. Oops. And then it gives it an ID attribute that you could link to. And I apologize while I was doing that experiment, I couldn't also listen to the discussion. Um,
Having that proper uh, copy link functionality probably needs a lot of attention to be accessible and stuff. I checked that there is a mention in the GitHub code that, like a comment, this is a hack due to the way the Area Live API works, and then a long list of like long text afterwards. So it needs some kind of a hacking and maintenance, keep it working and accessible, I assume.
so you're referring to what GitHub has implemented?
Yeah,
This thing.
I was checking that what I think is the JavaScript for copying that.
Okay, so clicking here doesn't actually copy it. It just follows a link, um, as opposed to clicking here, which does copy it. So maybe
Ah, okay.
that's
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't copy.
Yeah, it's just like for context clicking. So you right click and then copy the link for the heading.
right.
Oh, that's different. I thought it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it,
I've certainly seen other things. Maybe it's in Jira where you click to copy the link, but that doesn't seem to be the case here.
Yeah. I
oh yeah,
consider
in Jira it is copy.
Okay, so for the sake of this issue, we don't see any usability problems. And one of the most recent comments asked, do you still need a UX review? And maybe this issue doesn't really, but but I guess we don't see any usability issues, and uh, and perhaps we can have a follow-up issue if there isn't already one, to implement something like what GitHub does for H2s. Is there anything else to be said on this issue?
no.
Okay. So we're almost halfway through the hour. I think we can look at another issue. And Ralph and I were looking at the usual list, of issues in the needs review or RTBC state that have the tag needs usability review. That was one of them. And the other one for Drupal core is one we've looked at before. So maybe we should have a quick look at this and see what the recent comments are. So the media, oh, for the sake of the recording, it's 3111630. The media library upload form should use source field label and description. Um, and I haven't looked at it recently, but I believe it's sort of complicated. Um, and I'm pretty sure that we've left a review on this in the past.
And disclaimer, that issue definitely needs a rebase. I'm even unable to do a site install with Drush there.
Okay.
So not testable at the moment.
By the way, does it happen to everyone that every time I open a new page at Drupal.org, I have this Fastly captcha opening up? I need to type in some numbers to open almost any page on Drupal.org.
No, not for me.
Yeah,
I've seen a Fastly thing pop up, but it doesn't require me to do anything other than wait
Yep.
a couple of seconds. And I know that about a week ago,
Yeah.
there there was Drupal.org was down for quite some time because of what seems to be a DDoS attack. So I assume that that this extra
Yeah.
hoop that we have to jump through is trying to prevent that sort of attack.
They made a few readjustments in the context of Fastly. But Simo, maybe post a comment on Drupal.org. They want to have feedback on the Drupal.org channel. They want to have feedback in the experience at the moment
yeah.
up after recent changes, they said.
So let me just follow a random link and see what I see. Um, do, do, do. I'm not getting anything from Fastly. So let's see. 49 was a usability review that I posted last year in June. Um, and he says he dealt with 1, 2, and 3, which were requests for changes to the issue summary updates. 4, 5.
Or was the for is the screenshot in the user interface changes section should be based on the last step of the STR and they should show the help text description added in the earlier step. That was 4.
Okay, unfortunately, I guess it would be 3.4. Um, so let's duplicate the
3.4.
tabs so that I don't have to scroll up and down all the time. Um, so again, the screenshots in the user interface changes should be based on the last step, and they should show the help text added in the earlier step. So user interface changes before. Um, there's a before section. I don't see an after section.
There is after. Scroll a little bit up.
Oh, you're right. It's just not very clear. Okay. And I guess the change added here, it has the same 3 lines that are already there, one file only, 8 MB limit allowed types MP4, but then it adds example video description. And I guess there's no change for adder for this second screenshot for image.
Maybe quickly show a look.
Maybe we can add a pin icon below the browse, or maybe no file selected.
So are you suggesting a way to improve um, the, the issue?
Improve the UI, right?
I, I'm I'm just trying to decide whether the issue summary updates have been made that I requested. But So again, what are you suggesting, Pallavi?
I'm suggesting that we can add a pin icon to make user understand that we can attach document here.
Okay, so let's go to my test site and um let's see, where would I be adding or selecting media? It would have to be a content type where um I have media and I think article. So, we already have the browse button to select a file. We have the existing media, or I guess this field is configured to have only one, so I can't select more than one, um, but other fields might be configured to allow multiple. So I guess I don't see what additional thing we have to do to make it clear that you can add media when you're on this screen. Maybe I'm not understanding your suggestion. Uh,
Are we allowing the users to select only from the existing images,
no, we
which
have
is
two
shown
up.
below?
Go
Like,
ahead.
are we allowing the users to select only these images, or the user can select from their system as well?
Uh, but both. You can do either one. You can either select one of these existing images, or you can add a new image.
Or
Um,
more precisely, maybe you can add a new image and then it will end up in the list pre-selected. So it will be added to the list. You can add images to the list, but you have to choose from the list you see.
yeah, I don't know if you see the pop-up window, but I will add my avatar. And as Simo says, it shows up pre-selected. And not ideal, but at least it warns me that I have two things selected in a field that only allows one. So, Lavi, does that answer your question? You're still
Oh,
muted.
it's just, I was just suggesting the improved version of user experience.
And I guess I'm still not sure what what your suggested improvement is. Could you say it again? You want to add something to this help text?
Yes, yes. I want to add uh, maybe a pin icon which is understandable for user that he or she can uh, add elements in this section. It's just a suggestion.
So maybe the text add file you think could be more explicit. It's this header.
So can I share a design for this issue? Maybe later in the comment section.
Just a moment. So I'm sorry, you want to,
I want to share a design for this section.
okay,
Can I
so
comment this in the issue?
yeah, so here I'll put a link to the issue in the Zoom chat and you can add a comment there. Is that what you want?
Okay.
And on on the other hand, if you have if the suggestion you have is not related to this issue, maybe it should be a separate issue. Um, this issue is specifically about adding the the description from the field configurations. So let me see if I go back to my test site and structure, media types, image. Um, no, I think that, whoops, the fields. That's right. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think this is where it is. It's not the media type, but the field on the media type. Um, some
That's
help
the one.
text. The idea is that the text you enter here um, get shows up here. Um, example video description is the sample text on the issue. Go ahead, Ralph.
About the screenshots in the issue summary, I've just in comment number 45 is the one where AC Bramley uploaded those issues, and I've compared the image before and image after because I thought maybe it was just a switch up and image before was added twice to the issue summary, but it is not, and those two issues are identical. So maybe the recommendation would be to that also the image example reflects where something description is added and shown there. At the moment, it is not, and that would basically answer Adam's question there in comment number 50, where he answers, this is already the case, is it not? It shows before and after of two media types, one with help text for last step of the new str, and I guess uh, in consequence, he says, for the other, it does not, and that way it doesn't make sense to edit then, from my perspective.
Okay, so only one of them has help text.
Yeah,
And
it looks,
so,
it's my interpretation.
yeah, I think that's right. And so the one that doesn't have help text, there's no change between before and after.
Yeah. And then what's the purpose to show it in the issue summary if it isn't? It should illustrate basically what happens to the image as well. So
So let's see, what was my comment number 5? Some part of the issue summary should compare the file upload field that does not have enough context to the form at media add document, which does have more context, the field label and description mentioned in this issue. This comparison will help avoid confusion, point out where the label and description are currently shown, and point out the inconsistency between the two forms. Oh yes, and that was just the difficulty I was having in remembering where where to look. Um, the file upload field that we're looking at that does not have the context. And media add document. Ah, so let's see if you go to create. No, you go to content, media, add media. Right, that's, and then what did I just do? Image rather than document. Media add image, so except that it's a different media type. I think that's what I was referring to. Media add document, yes. And here, um, that's odd. Maybe I forgot to save. Where was I? Structure, media types, image. I did save that. Oh, but it was the field. Okay, I did not save my change your example help text. And then if I go to media, add image, there we see the help text. So on this page where the dedicated page for adding a new media entity is different from an article where we click on the add media button and get this modal. So, so basically the issue is to make it more consistent so that we have the same help text here and here. And and I was suggesting that the current proposal does give better context, but is does not have is not consistent with the existing form. And I guess with the current screenshots, it is consistent with the form. Maybe I was looking at different screenshots when I made that content, or maybe I was confused. But
Looks okay to me for the
yeah,
video.
does the issue description currently mention? Okay, the one change I would make is to be a little more explicit in this line. Use the source field label and description as title and description of the upload field in the media library add form. I would just and I can add that myself. I would say that this makes the modal form more this. This makes this modal form more consistent with this page.
With the add page. Yep.
I think it definitely needs that add in the label. So in the after image, you only have video file. So if the modal is add or select media, and then you have video file and browse, then it's kind of gives the impression that you might be browsing to select media instead of adding.
Yeah, but that's a general problem of that entire dialog box where several different functionalities crammed into a single view.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you do have the title add file, and this is
But
a fairly
in the after screenshot on the issue, it only says video file or image.
Where? Ah,
yes, I was only looking at the part under the browse, but you're absolutely right. Here we have add file, and here we get video file and image.
that's odd. Video is. Um, Benji, one question. The installation you currently tested on, that is without the patch. That's just the main branch, is it?
Yes, that's right.
Could you take a brief look? It's add file. Okay. Then shouldn't it then, okay, for the after, shouldn't it then be not just image, but add image and add video as the label for that browse field set? So it's because it's basically an action.
So you're asking what it currently is?
Yeah, currently it's just in every context at just add file. But to reflect the current context, to basically instead of in the screenshots you have for video you have video file as the label, and for image you have image, and to simply say add video for video and add image for image and add remote video for remote videos and so forth. So basically to reflect that's the CTA and to reflect what's the object it's interacting with and it's creating.
Okay, so you're saying that we should not get rid of the word add. It should be
Exactly.
add video file here and
No,
add
I'll add
image.
video simply.
There's add video.
Yeah, because in basically underneath you see no file selected already, and keep it short and simple. And I would simply use the same label that is used on the vertical tabs. You have image, remote video, and video. So
So
basically, this is a which media type you're currently adding by pressing the browse button underneath.
okay, so the consistency you want to see is between these things on the um in
Vertical tabs.
vertical tabs. Thank you. Between that and the title of this
Yeah.
field, whereas I'm saying that I want consistency between this modal and this dedicated page. And I now notice that there's already an inconsistency. Add a new file rather than simply add file. I wonder where that comes from.
Yeah, the add new I would definitely strike on the add page.
On this page.
Yeah, simply add file, not add a new file, but still I would prefer reflecting the H1 in that case to add file. Add image, sorry.
Whereas I think this is a file widget or a file upload widget. And I kind of think that all file upload widgets should look the same. I'm not sure that's the right place to add the context. I wonder when.
But in particular for the example of the image, because you have images and you have files, and that way, is it now an image or is it a file?
Well, it is a file, and the allowed file types are listed here, which are all image file types.
Yeah, but
And we have the context of the page title.
just have to recheck.
Let me just briefly scan the comments that have been made since then. Um, so it looks like they're just updating the issue,
No,
rebasing.
those are the relative ones, the 59 and 60. That was a new input there.
Regarding the UX conversation about whether to include something like this in core, it seems like the commentary spun a little from how I read the problem statement. But the main problem for our users is that if you update the help text for a field under structure, media types, edit media item help text, that value does not get propagated to the media library upload widget when uploading media items from the content editor, where it does show from the dedicated upload page. So I think he's basically agreeing with me that the two forms should be consistent. I've provided screenshots illustrating the problem statement for our users, as it seems to be a simple one that the patch solves. Um, One, add custom help text to a media field. Two, verify the help text is showing on the upload media page. And three, compare that to the help text for uploading when using the media library upload widget. Yeah, that's what I was saying. If I understand the questions correctly, the suggestion turned into having two different fields to represent that help text: description and title for the static page and the dynamic media library. That seems to be overkill for customization, as both the label and description should work for all representations of the field to upload something. Any additional clarifying text should likely be appended to that base if it needs to be customized. Okay, we only have 2 or 3 more minutes left. Do we have a recommendation to make at this point? Go ahead, Ralph.
Um, I agree definitely with your point about being consistent between those two forms, between the dialog and the add page. But just one brief, could you simply quickly go to the following: admin structure types, manage article fields?
Okay.
Just for the context, why I think that using file could be misleading and going with the media type label would be the better choice.
Manage article fields. That will be here.
And simply go into create a new field and then go on to file upload. Because within file upload, you have file and you have image as two different field types.
Yes.
Just me from the mental models perspective of a user. If they read then file, I am creating now a file that is not an image. That is the point I try to make, that it could be potentially confusing. Does it really matter if you what the physical entity is, but is it I think it's rather more important to provide the context.
I see. So since these are two different options, two different field types, you don't like the idea of using the same text add file for
Yeah,
both of them.
that's my worry, that someone could get confused potentially.
Okay. Um, that's a good point, and that's I think maybe it might be worth expanding the scope of the issue to make some of these changes, but we've run out of time. It's the end of the hour. Um, so I think we'll have to leave it there. And I don't think we're ready to leave a comment, although feel free to comment on the issue yourselves. I will not be here next week. The Zoom meeting will be available if anyone wants to join. Hope you do. And thank you again all for coming.
Yep,
And
thank
I will
you.
be back in 2 weeks.
Okie doke. Have a nice
Thanks,
weekend,
Raj.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
This weekend.